so excited. We're here because a dear friend of mine once again has asked us to participate in the incredible work of Amudim, where they're having kind of a night where we're having all of these conversations related to mental health, life, religiosity. And I wanted to kind of use this opportunity as an excuse to force you, to pressure you, to coerce you into conversation. We had one conversation once.
I came to your house.
It was about midnight.
Where it was about midnight?
Yeah, we finished past midnight.
Okay.
And it wasn't recorded, it wasn't videoed, and it was the first time that we met through our dear mutual...
It was recorded in audio.
Audio,
there
just
was no
audio.
video. This was before...
Correct.
Video, but it wasn't audio. We had an audio.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And our friend Jeff Bloom, we should shout out to Jeff Bloom.
Huge shout out to Jeff Bloom who introduced us and connected us. And the conversation was about Teshuvah, but I wanted to talk about something else because I really look towards you as somebody who is doing public work in teaching Torah and bringing Torah to new people, and you look like you are authentically in touch with yourself. Okay. And what I'm trying to figure out is, why am I still struggling? Why do I still have so many days where I feel performative, inauthentic? And what's so interesting to me, like I'm staring over here, you have this like YouTube thing, you have 100,000 YouTube subscriptions. You've blown up on Instagram. Yeah. And what I find very moving, honestly, and what I'm trying to like learn from you is how did you preserve your humanity after stepping into this like public space of clicks and driving and virality? And I know you have, because we spoke beforehand and we talk. We're in touch constantly.
Yeah. Not as much as we should be.
Not as much as we should be.
We should be friends. And I don't have friends. But I'm saying that if I were to have a friend, I would consider maybe that.
But I'm coming to speak out loud. That's really what I want to do. I want to talk out loud, and I want to figure out what am I doing wrong at this point? No, I'm being serious. Like I'm fairly frum. Yeah. I'm a reasonable Talmud Chacham. I do mitzvahs. I mess up like
that you're
anybody
comfortable
else.
with knowing your milas. That's
okay. I'm reasonable.
Right. I mean, you toned it down a little bit, but yes, and I would say you're a respected thought leader.
Sure, that's great. Yeah. But what I'm trying to figure out is, I've gotten to the point where I'm suspicious of anybody who says that I have answers that you don't have, like the knowers. In the room. I'm very suspicious of the knowers. Oh, yeah. And what I find remarkable about you is you don't present as knower. Something must have, I don't know, changed about you. I find you to be both very inviting, but also very mysterious, because I don't really know your past. There's a lot. I don't believe, like, to me, when I speak to you, what I'm trying to understand is, what is the suffering that you experienced that allowed you to have the profound insights that you do? Because I don't believe you, and I asked you this the last time we were on, I don't believe you that there's no major, that there isn't a kernel of catalyst suffering in your life. Whatever. That was my beginning. What I'm saying here,
a very, you just started like you were just talking about being more authentic, and then you can get like a little compliment. Oh, you're so authentic, and your success hasn't changed you. And then you're like, and what's your deepest pain? Let's go there. Let's go straight there. Because I know you're hiding it.
No, you're not hiding it. That's what I find so amazing is that you're able to authentically connect. You're able to authentically empathize and really people's pain and the suffering that they're going through. You're not just mirroring, you understand what they're going through, and I just find that you're able to both be so outward focused and uplift and have this core that is not getting swept away in this modern world of virality. I'm trying to understand what you're doing, because I feel like I need to learn how to do this. I'm not doing it well.
Okay. You remember when we had that conversation, the recorded conversation at your house, in your little side office there in the basement.
Which we've expanded.
Oh,
it's much nicer. Yeah, you'd like it now.
With the little roadcaster over there.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was no video. And I remember I told you the story about getting the ticket on Rosh Hashanah and getting towed on Rosh Hashanah.
We had to cut that story in half, basically. You told a 45-minute story.
About getting Taub on Rosh Hashanah.
Yes.
And about the draconian bureaucracy
yes.
of getting the ticket, peeling the ticket and getting my car back. And
what I described as like this Kafka-esque story where you kept on coming to like, you finally get to the counter where the person who's going to figure out the paperwork that you need and sign it off, and you keep on getting shuffled to another counter. That's how I feel in my life right now.
Okay.
Honestly.
So the reason I brought that up is because I told that whole story, and in the end, and I wasn't sure you would get it because I didn't know you well, but I told the story. And it's a real story. And it's a sort of a banal story. I mean, there's no real drama there. I mean, that's kind of the point of it. And I was wondering if you would get it. And when you said that was Kafka-esque. So right away, I knew a few things about you. First of all, I knew you were literate. Okay. Secondly, I knew you got it because you understood that was a horror story, but the horror wasn't gore and shock,
persecution,
right?
None of those things.
The horror was the tedium of it, the heaviness of the system that everyone accepts as normal. And you used the exact right adjective, Kafka-esque. And usually when people use the term Kafka-esque, it's pretentious. But that was one of the rare non-pretentious uses of the word Kafka-esque.
Because it came from a place of suffering. You know, I have a friend who told me something, who has made a big impact on me. His name is Eli Shulman. Quote him a lot. But when I had him on, he said, the biggest bracha is the right amount of suffering. There are people who have too much suffering, but there are a lot of people who have too little suffering.
Yeah.
And I just look at you, and honestly, what I see is somebody who seems to have done a good job healing their suffering to the point where they're able to really like be out in the public constantly and not lose themselves. You don't come off as that kind of like prostitute-esque influencer, which is always worries me.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling, God forbid, any influencers.
No.
But you don't step into the world that way.
So
what am I missing? I'm here for your guidance.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a Kafka quote.
Please.
And I love this quote so much that I can even say it in the original German.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have my attention.
Ich schämte mich. I was ashamed. Als ich bemerkte, when I realized, dass das Leben ein Maskenball ist. That life is a Maskenball, a masquerade, costume party. Und ich mit meinem wahren Gesichte teilgenommen habe. And I, with my true face, participated.
And he felt shame from that.
I was ashamed when I realized that life is a masquerade, and I attended with my
without
own
a costume.
face, without a costume. Now, someone in 2025, almost 2026, reading that quote will say what Kafka was describing was neurodivergent masking. And they will diagnose him and they'll say his mother took Tylenol. And
Okay.
I don't think Tylenol existed then.
Probably not. Correct.
Gotta tell Bobby. Neurodivergent masking. A differently wired person, a little bit too sensitive for this world, a little bit too deep for this world. And having this shame, this burning shame when you realize that if you show up to life as yourself, there's going to be a severe penalty to pay. You're going to be judged, you're going to be ostracized, you're going to lose opportunities. You thought everyone was just being who they are. You find out one day that everyone's lying, everyone's faking. And there's this, he calls it shame, this shame of, some people call it the vulnerability hangover. But that's from like one night of sharing too much. This is like realizing at some point in your life, I didn't realize that everybody's lying and they expect you to lie. And you've overexposed yourself. That experience, there's a reason why I remember the quote, and I remember the quote in German, is because when I saw that, that resonated with me on a deep level. And you're asking me about my pain. What's your pain? What's your pain, right? Everyone wants to know everyone's pain. So I'm telling you I'm not telling you this because I think it makes interesting content. One of my deepest pains, top 3 or 4 pains, maybe even could be top 1 or 2, but for sure top 3 or 4 pains in my life is the pain of not being able to be my true self, the fear of being rejected, and intermingled with a complex sort of, I figured out how to play the game. Now I do know how to mask. I can make people like me. And then the self-loathing for participating in that. And then even worse, the even deeper feeling of rejection that you can get people to like you for your false self. You understand? Like, what's more painful than being hated for who you are is being liked for who you're not. Even more painful, more devastating. So that's the answer to your question.
So, knowing this, why is it that you pursued, you have had a very interesting career. I'm actually quite fascinated by it.
Yeah.
You wrote this bestseller book, which actually had a pretty big impact on myself. That was about addiction.
Yeah.
That you deliberately no longer like to talk about.
Rarely speak about it. Yeah.
Rarely speak about it. It was called
God of Our Understanding.
A God of Our Understanding, which I love that title. A God of Our Understanding. That's taken from the Blue Book.
I mean, it's a play on words from AA lingo. They talk about God as we understood him. And it's sort of paraphrased it, but there was a implication that
But you could have rode that train into the sunset, the addiction train. Yeah. That could have been the only thing that you talk about.
Could have made hay of that, yeah.
And then you kind of I don't know how deliberate it was.
Very deliberate.
Pivot away from that into something more like what you're doing now, which is maybe more generic. Is that a word that you don't like? Generic?
It is more generic.
And it's more to the public, like direct to public.
The wider. But it's the same exact stuff.
It is, but why did you do that? What is it that you pivoted away from? Why didn't you? It was right in front of you. You could have been the addiction rabbi.
I told you my greatest pain is I could have been the addiction rabbi. Yeah.
It was right there for the taking.
Right. Yeah. Like Napoleon said, they said, "How did you come to rule France?" He said, "After the French Revolution, the crown was lying on the floor and no one bothered to pick it up."
Correct.
Yeah.
And you had it there. It was waiting. You were on this, when did you publish? 20 years ago?
Close to 20 years ago, yeah.
You published a book on addiction 20 years ago before the opioid epidemic.
It was like buying Apple in 83.
Correct. As a rabbi.
Yeah, as a rabbi.
Trauma, existence, all this stuff.
Yep.
And you could have rode that into the sunset.
Yes.
Why didn't you?
Because I told you my greatest pain is being misunderstood.
And what would have been misunderstood had that been your primary window through which you interacted with the world? I wrote an entire book,
the thesis of which, and this will save you however much the book costs. And by the way, I don't get the royalties anyway, so it's not like... At any rate, the whole thesis of the book that saves you from buying it is that addiction is not really the problem. Addiction is the solution.
But the problem is the pain of
existence. The pain of existence as a separate selfhood, as a conscious ego apart from God. And the only real solution is spiritual awakening. So I wrote, that was the whole thesis of it. And yet, people kept coming to me, wanting me to talk about what I just said is not the real problem.
And they kept on wanting you to treat their...
Yeah, like when everyone's, Purim is coming up. Can you make a statement about drinking? I'm like, I don't care about drinking. No, what do you do? And they think I'm being, and even they'll think either I'm being facetious or I'm being rude. I'm just blowing them off. I really don't care. Let people drink on Purim. I really don't. Can you lend your voice? We have a petition against the kiddish clubs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about that. So
you wanted to decouple in order to focus on that spiritual awakening.
My whole point was the spiritual awakening. My point was that I was speaking to the recovery world where you don't have to sell them on the fact that life is unbearably painful. They already know that.
Sure.
They learned that from life. And then I'm presenting this possible solution, that spiritual awakening is the solution. And and that was all I wanted. That was my only message. And instead, everyone is coming and asking me about something that to me is so secondary, so incidental to the whole thing. I'm like, don't you understand? What I'm interested in is that existence is painful, inherently so. For some people, even more so, sensitive souls. And the God of Understanding, I called it spiritual canaries. That was, by the way, I coined that phrase, spiritual canaries. By the way, that's another thing about being like being this quirky, offbeat type of like authentic guy, is that you say weird things that people don't understand.
A lot of them catch on.
But then they catch on, and you don't get credit.
I had that.
Ask my kid here. Yisrael is the producer of the show. That's my son.
I had that with...
How many times I've come home and I said somebody ripped off a thing that I said.
I had that with Gvir culture.
Gvir culture was your thing. I know that it was your thing.
It was my thing.
I know that it was your thing.
And there was a conference that everybody came together.
And you weren't even invited?
Wasn't invited, didn't contribute, and
you didn't get to sit on a dais and drink Diet Coke?
I got an email afterwards from the person who organized it.
Yeah.
You were mentioned a few times. Who actually came up with Gvir culture? I was like...
I know that you came up with it. I know that you okay.
I like that. Spiritual canaries.
Spiritual canaries, like the canary in the coal mine. That he shows the symptoms first. Now they use it in political context. The canary in the coal mine, Western civilization.
But a spiritual canary.
But a spiritual canary, meaning to say, embodiment is inherently painful for every soul. But most people kind of get used to being in embodiment. Pain. No, the pain of separation from God doesn't even feel, they don't even complain about that. They get used to embodiment, and if they complain about any pain, it's about a lack of material stuff. If they have any problem or any complaint, it's a lack of material stuff. Most people. But then the spiritual canaries are the ones who they never get over the soul's trauma of embodiment. That's why I call the spiritual canaries. So the sensitive souls. So that's who my audience always was, because that's who I am. That's what I wanted to speak about. And it was misunderstood as me being interested in drugs and alcohol, which I'm not.
So I think, and I don't think my problem is all that unique, because I think that just the way, if you're plugged into a spiritual community, if you're plugged into, you have a synagogue that you go to, you have a base.
Synagogue.
I love that. I love shout out to my book.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Tell them the book.
Tell them about the book.
How can we get your book? You've written many books.
I've written a few books. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for plugging, for
which
pushing
one do you
product.
make the most? You self-published any? Because self-publishing, you make the best margin.
I didn't self-publish any of them. It's such a mistake, right?
It's a big mistake.
Because I'm
with Amazon especially, the best margin.
It goes right into your pocket.
Right into your pocket. Yeah. Except for the fulfilled by Amazon, but that's it. They take less than a publisher.
No, I'm getting my royalty check. No, I'm not retiring off them. Then my dream of retiring as a book writer has been fully dashed and dispelled.
One of our favorite books at our house is the funny one, the top 10 lists.
Oh, top 5.
Top 5s. Yeah, I'm sorry, the David.
That's a good book.
Top 5. Okay.
That's a good book. I can't get the publisher to give them away though. It's hard to sell books.
It's a coffee table book. I love it.
It's a great coffee table book.
It's a great coffee. It's a conversation starter, and you put it out in your house, and people know you're hip. That's what I'm saying.
But come back to the spiritual embodiment. Spiritual embodiment.
Right.
Because I think it's much more difficult now because it's so much less organic. There was an article that had a big impact on me in the New York Times that was written by a travel journalist. I have to send this to you. it was so profound. It was by a travel journalist who was explaining,
like an Anthony Bourdain type guy,
who covers that kind of stuff, type guy. And he was explaining, this is somebody who studies awe and wonder. And he said the billionaires who are paying money to go into outer space are not going to get the experience of awe and wonder that they hoped for and paid for. Why? Because the experience is too manufactured and expected. And in order to really experience awe and wonder, it needs something that is organic and that is not like, it's not obvious that it's going to be like the end of the road. That's when you're going to experience the awe and the wonder. And a part of my frustration is this moment in the Jewish world. If you're tapped in and you have this community and you have all this content and all these rabbis who you could speak to and get inspiration from, it's almost like it gets harder to have like a spiritual awakening. Like it's easy. I almost envy, and I'm going to say something radical. I envy in some ways.
I'll be the judge of that.
I envy non-Orthodox Jews because
that's radical.
Post October 7th, I think that they had a very organic awakening about what their Jewish identity is supposed to be. And like it started a frenzied search. Oh no, like I don't know enough about it. I got to learn more about this. And I look at that journey and it's so exciting and very quietly and obviously, you know, October 7th changed all of us. But like quietly deep down inside, I don't really see that within our community. And secondly, in myself, forget the community. Like me, David, I'm not, I think whatever spiritual awakening was is maybe taking Judaism more seriously, but it didn't give me more serenity. It didn't give me more peace. Maybe briefly it did. I just need to make a disclaimer. I came to you and I'm having a terrible day. I told you that up close.
You told me when you got out of the car.
So I just need to be clear that this conversation may be colored by a certain, just like Sisyphean cynicism, which I would define as there's this boulder story of Sisyphus trying to push his boulder up. And when it keeps on dropping, at some point you just end up saying, well, this boulder is dumb. Or this is stupid. I don't know. It's my way of coping, and I feel like that's where I am right now.
You want to talk about what your boulder is for the world here?
My boulder I'm talking about.
Yeah, the boulder you're talking about. Yeah.
Should I just say it out loud?
You said you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
So what was the boulder that put you in a bad mood?
Fundraising for 1840.
Okay.
I stink at it. I'm not good at it.
Do you know that when people fundraise for their causes, they borrow your platform?
That does happen a lot. It's one of my frustrations. Sure.
You understand? They're coming to you to ask for a platform to fundraise for their cause.
Yeah.
You've got the platform.
Correct.
You've got the platform.
I don't know. I'm not good at asking people for money.
For yourself.
For myself.
You can do it for others. You give others the platform that they should get the money.
Yes.
You're the Cyrano de Bergerac of fundraising.
Explain what you mean by that.
Cyrano, he knew how to write the poetry that would woo the ladies, but he couldn't get the girl himself. That was the tragedy.
It's a great Seinfeld episode where Kramer falls in love with a book dealer or somebody who works in a bookstore. Okay. Kramer was not that literate, so he positions Newman, who's this very lovable character played by Wayne Knight, behind the bookshelf, and Newman's whispering the poetry into Kramer's ear, so Kramer's able to say all the right words.
Right. Mamish the Cyrano de Bergerac.
But it has an effect on me that I'm disappointed at how much it knocks me out. I'm disappointed in myself. I should be stronger. I should be more resilient. I should have a deeper sense of what I'm worth, and I feel like it brings out my...
You should, but can I just say as a friend or as a potential friend?
Sure.
That's not real. You're okay. It's good to take responsibility and to say, where can I change myself instead of changing the situation? That's very good. And you're right. And you should expand your threshold for frustration. It's all true. But I think at the same time, there is, there's an expression, I think, to say that the bad dancer says the floor is crooked. right? Everyone always externalizes the problem instead of owning up to
their part. The bad dancer says the floor is crooked. Yeah. I love that.
So to a certain extent, yeah, you're right. You need to expand your threshold for frustration, and okay, no problem. True. But there really is an issue here that is a practical issue, objectively is a real issue that needs to be fixed, and maybe you need to talk to some friends. I will volunteer to be one of them, to talk about the fact that 1840 is a worthy cause, and Ein Ani Ela B'das, the greatest type of poverty is lacking knowledge, and if people support worthy causes where they feed the hungry who are literally hungry, and you're feeding people who are spiritually and intellectually hungry, that's no less of a worthy cause, perhaps even in some ways even more of a worthy cause. And especially, we're heading into people can call this era in history whatever they want, but the reality is these are the birth pangs of Mashiach. We're heading into the redemption, and we're heading into a time where the prophets tell us people are hungry not for bread, but for knowledge, to hear the word of the Lord.
I see it deeply so. I see my own hunger.
Okay, so why is that not a worthy cause? It is a worthy cause, and the problem is not just that you need to learn how to deal with frustration more. You do, sure, but there's an objective problem that can easily be fixed with some smart minds to get together, and that 1840 should be, not only should it be something that you can support yourself so you can focus on it and not have to run around and do anything else, but to be completely focused on it, but to grow it, to expand the reach, and really a guy like you who you have your finger on the pulse and you understand things, I think, in a deeper way. You should have a vision for what at least your niche and how that's developing until the Geula Shlema, and you should have that mapped out and how much money it's going to cost, and we should have a budget.
Is it weird that when you're speaking, I got like a little emotional?
Not weird at all, because your pain point.
What is the pain? Is it not about? Is it about fundraising?
No.
I got emotional as you were talking.
Yeah.
It was really nice to. It's nice to hear somebody be optimistic and be, kind of like praiseworthy. That's really. I get a lot of really nice praise and feedback. I don't know what you just said right now was very kind of you. That was really nice.
Because I think, first of all, it was affirmation that you haven't heard. People give you compliments all the time. You're a brilliant guy, creative, funny. People appreciate you, but it's like, yeah, thanks. That and $1.50 will get me a cup of coffee, right? I don't even think you can get a cup of coffee. No. So people can praise, but you're trying to create something that people value. Like, vote, put up your money. Like, show that you care about this. My father, Hakam, whose yortzeit is in a couple of weeks. So I remember he told me a story about an encyclopedia salesman who came to his house.
Okay. There used to be encyclopedia salesmen.
There used to be encyclopedias.
My parents had a World Book and a Britannica.
Yes.
But the World Book
You didn't have an Encyclopedia Judaica?
Of course we had Encyclopedia Judaica.
Right.
The 76 one. They redid it and they made it worse. The old school from the 70s.
Yeah.
But the World Book, there are pages of the World Book that I have memorized. They used to have a page where they would show how fast every animal goes. And they'd also, I was very into the World Book Encyclopedia.
Yes.
Very. Brown.
So before the internet existed,
okay,
guys like you and me.
Before Encarta.
Very good. Encarta. Yeah. People don't know what
Throwback.
Encarta is.
That was Microsoft's digital encyclopedia. Pre-Wikipedia.
And I use Encarta, by the way. Last week was the Kinnis HaShluchim. So I use Encarta when people ask me, how do they get guys to go to crazy places like Ghana? And I say, you don't get it. It's not like they say, oh, here's your package, here's your, your compensation package, and then, the health plan and your 401k. And no, these guys have literally no support. They're paying to be able to go, right? How do you get them to go? Okay, so I say like this. And by the way, I didn't make up this mushal. It's a mushal it's from a book about motivation. I think the name of the book is Drive.
Okay.
I never read it.
Sure.
I have a secret, though. When someone tells me there's a good book, I find the TED Talk by the guy who wrote the book. I watch the first 5 minutes on double speed, and in 2.5 minutes, I know the thesis of the book.
Do you know what I do?
What?
When somebody tells me of a great television show or movie that I know I don't have the time budget to commit to, Just like, oh, Harry Potter. I'm like,
Right.
give me 8, but I don't have that kind of time.
So what do you do?
I read plot summaries on Wikipedia. Like I love read, and I read. YouTube makes shortened movie recaps.
How short?
8 minutes.
8 minutes, and you get a feature film.
The whole thing.
Wow, it's a bargain.
Yeah, it's one of the ways I veg out. It's my number one. Sometimes I need to like veg out to not feel, to almost like let go of the consciousness steering wheel and just veg out and just let my mind like.
It's how you self-soothe.
So I self-soothe, my addiction that helps me escape the pain of reality is watching YouTube movie recaps.
I'm not going to forget where I'm going to take us back to where the fork in the road. But before we come back, what 8-minute YouTube summary did you watch that you believe, that you feel like you had a full experience as if you saw a whole movie? Like you don't feel like you're missing anything. Like maybe someone will say, no, you have to see it. It's 2.5 hours. You don't even know there's a whole subplot that you didn't even see. And you're like, no, trust me. This 8 minutes rocked my world. It was incredibly meaningful to me. It took 8 minutes. I don't even want to see the feature.
Right now, there's a horror renaissance right now, which is very interesting. It's interesting to me that horror movies have captured the public's attention.
Yeah.
And there's a horror movie, and a lot of these horror movies are made by comedians that crossover. Like Jordan Peele he was doing comedy sketches. Jordan and what was it called? Peele. Yeah, Key and Peele, very good.
Yeah.
Key and Peele, and he went into horror movies, and I love his horror movies. I think they're very profound. The movie that I saw that is an 8-minute movie, a recap, where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Weapons.
That's one of his?
No, but it's a horror movie.
Oh, it's a horror movie.
It's a horror movie about an unexplained, the entire classroom of kids disappear except one kid.
Okay.
And that's the mystery. That's the premise. Right. Watching 8 minutes, and I was like, I was blown away by the way they structured it, and I got all of it in that 8 minutes. You got it all. The whole thing.
It was intense.
Very intense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and we're not recommending this.
No.
Bertelsmann.
Of course.
Completely.
Total Bertelsmann. Do not veg out. Do not watch 6 YouTube movie recaps in order to fall asleep on a weeknight.
So
we're just being clear. We're not recommending. It's
the opposite of recommending. We're telling you not to do it.
Yeah, not to do it. Correct.
Okay. So the place where Encarta. Oh, hold on. There's 2 browser tabs open here. So when I explain to people how they get people to go on shlichus to crazy places, I say like this. Encarta was Bill Gates had an idea of an online encyclopedia. He put tons of money into it. He hired the biggest experts to write the articles, the biggest developers to create the platform, and it totally tanked. Along comes Wikipedia. It was all free. Everyone did it for free. It was all voluntary. And it became like the #1 website. So I explained like this. And I got this from Drive, which is where I said that I watched the TED Talk, and then you have the secret. Good. You watched. Okay, fine. All right. So he says that Encarta, with all of their money and all of their funding and hiring experts, but no one was moiser nefesh for this. He doesn't use that term, but like, it's a job. It's a living. But Wikipedia, someone's doing it out of the love of their heart. It's personal, right? So the thing that was funded fell apart. The thing that had zero budget flourished. So I say, if you would try to put out an ad and say, we're hiring a younger man for $150,000 a year salary plus benefits, you would not get people to go to Ghana. But if you say, no, you get nothing. You got to go fundraise for yourself. Then you got guys lining up. Okay, but at any rate, encyclopedia sales. So that's, okay. So the encyclopedia salesman comes to my father and he says, listen, you may or may not need an encyclopedia. That's not really the point here. He says, this is democracy and you vote, okay? You vote for a candidate that you believe in. That's what you do, you vote. Well, here's the thing. When you buy from me an encyclopedia, that's how you vote for me. You're voting for me. You're saying you believe in me. So it doesn't matter if you need the encyclopedia. By buying the encyclopedia, it's a vote for me. I can't remember if he bought it or not, but I remember my father telling me like decades later how compelling that was. Because there's something true about it. It's like do you believe in me? And now that's a little manipulative and weird because it's a stranger. I never met you before.
Yeah, that would be a very...
But it's like, they say if someone's a real friend and you have a business, they shouldn't ask you to give them a discount when they buy from you. But if someone's a real friend, they should pay full price when they patronize your business because that shows that you believe in that person's business, right? Okay, so similarly, you were asking why it was so poignant for you to hear the validation that I gave you, even though you get tons of validation, Baruch Hashem. Because specifically, the validation of saying that what you're doing has tangible value. To quote Eric Adams, who was in that chair 6 months ago, before we knew he was dropping out of the race, he was sitting in that very chair. He was here in Soul Words Studios.
Sure, I remember.
Yeah, you remember that. And he didn't say it here, but he was famous for saying it. And it's a movie quote, which you probably know, but he was famous for saying, show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. The great Jerry Maguire. Sure.
Right. That's the origins of it. But show me the money means tachlis. Let's be real. Talk is cheap.
But I want to move away.
So when someone says to you, what you're doing is worth money, that validation hits deeper. If someone says, oh, that was inspiring. Yeah, how inspiring? How inspiring, right? Sounds cynical, but listen, we're talking about embodiment. We are in a physical world, and there are certain realities of the physical world. And, it's like the Meraglim. They wanted Torah on a conceptual level. That's why they were happy to stay in the Midbar, stay in yeshiva, and just learn all day. Don't enter Eretz Yisrael. Don't become farmers. Don't deal with agriculture and city building and infrastructure and roads. No. All abstraction, nothing concrete, all soul, no body. Okay, but as you, being a real Chabad Chassid, know, it's about dira b'tachtonim, dwelling place in the lower realms. It's got to be tangible. That's show me the money.
But I wonder for myself, and I do find that, I wonder for myself, how does one figure out where to invest in spiritually? Meaning, people come to you and you decoupled where we started with. Yeah. You decoupled kind of addiction from the actual spiritual awakening so that existence is not as painful.
Yes.
What I'm trying to figure out is why most days are good days, right. Genuinely. And It happened to work out that I'm here on one of my bad days. Few things didn't go right, had a couple meetings that didn't go great, and I came here feeling dejected, exhausted, and frustrated, which I was very straight up with you about, and I appreciate you bearing with me as I share it. But when I'm in this place, I wonder to myself, what is the spirituality I need that these moments do not feel quite as, I'm going to use the word like frightening. Like there are times where like I feel like, usually like right before I'm going to sleep, that's where it gets you. Like I feel like I'm falling through the floors of my own self until like you're literally just like on the bottom of this skyscraper.
Yes.
And you're just like, how'd I get here? What am I trying to do? And I can feel this spiritually bereft, and I don't always know where to turn.
Okay, I'm going to deny you a little bit.
Please.
Okay. And I told you this before, I'm going to say it again. You're right to some extent. You do need to learn how to man up and deal with this stress. You're right. And maybe that means of course it means looking for some type of a spiritual way of reframing it and sort of giving yourself more resilience, maybe call it. Okay, you're right. That's true. But I'm not letting up on this. I mean, look, people. One of the weird things about me is people seem to think that I have insights about people. I don't think I do, but people say that I do. People say that I've been helpful to them, which, by the way, that's a whole other thing, like avoiding the whole addiction world, avoiding the label of being a therapist. That's like, please, I'm not a therapist. I'm like, okay. But
is that deliberate that you didn't?
So deliberate. I'm not a therapist. Get out of here. I'm not a therapist. Well, it was certainly you trained, you studied. No, my father, who I mentioned, was a psychologist. So I grew up with the books. I read a lot of psychology books. There were certain books that I really, really connected with on a deeper level.
But what were you trying to avoid by not going on that path also?
Because that's not what I'm interested in. I don't care. But people will ask me about modalities of therapy. And they'll say, is this new thing, is it kosher? And I'm like, I don't know what it is. And they think I'm like being passive aggressive. No, I really don't know what it is. I never heard of it. You'd have never heard of it. All the rabbis heard of it because they follow that stuff. I'm not interested. I don't follow. I don't know these new therapies. I never heard of it. But at any rate, people say that I'm pretty good at figuring people out. I'm not negating the fact that you're trying to own up to this and say that there is some growing that you need to do. That's true. That's always true.
Sure.
But I think that you're sort of bypassing the fact that you really do want and deserve and need, not for you even, more like, can I use the word shlichus, as part of your shlichus in this world, to receive that validation, not just because you need the pat on the back. That's nice too. That's a side benefit. But there's a real thing that your soul came to a body for. And it's not just to be the ideas guy, because you could have been in Gan Eden and you could have hung out in Mesivta Derakia and done the same thing. If you're an ideas guy, you could have stayed in Gan Eden and been ideas guy. And you wouldn't even need Twitter, because I don't know how they communicate up there, but that's a world of ideas. You came to the physical world. There has to be some marriage between the spiritual and the physical. There needs to be something physical. There's something built. There needs to be something that I can see. 1840 has to be something tangible, not just ideas. You're a guy who lives in a world of ideas. I'm also a guy who lives in the world of ideas. And I have the Miraglim syndrome, very much so. That's why I built this house, by the way. The studio that we're in is the basement.
It's crazy what you built here.
Why did I do it? Because when I started to have millions of people a month online, I said, oh, good. I never have to leave my house again. I really said, because I used to travel to speak. COVID knocked that all out. People don't do in-person events anymore after COVID. I used to travel to speak all over the world, Australia, South Africa, it was crazy. Constant travel. You can ask my son how much I used to travel when he was a kid. Okay. And then I was reaching millions of people a month online. I was like, I don't have to travel ever again. Beautiful. I don't have to deal with people ever again. I never have to sit in the same room with other human beings. I can just put it all out into the ether and I realized how dangerous that is. My soul didn't come to the world to be divorced from physicality. So I made a house. And at this house, we've had thousands of people come here. We have events here. We have Fabrengens. We have this podcast. I'm going to just tell you one thing real quick. A friend of mine told me, and it changed my life. I think about it all the time because it's one of my main struggles. You can fake caring, but you can't fake showing up.
You can fake caring, but you can't fake showing up.
Right, because either you did or you didn't.
Either you did or didn't, right. Correct.
Caring, you could trick someone to think you care more than you do. Or maybe you don't care at all and you make them think that you care. But showing up, you can't trick someone to think you showed up. Either you did or you didn't. That, to me, is the difference between the abstract and the concrete. The world of ideas, you will always question how much value it had. But something that's concrete is undeniable. And I want that for you. And the world needs that for you. And Mashiach has to be here in this world. So it's all part of Geula, is something tangible and physical.
It moved me when there's a custom. What's amazing about this house is that it's very close to the Ohel. And our timing was off. So you had like 40 minutes. This is going to be broadcast later, so I feel more comfortable sharing it now, because it doesn't have that immediacy. If you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little bit removed.
But there's a custom that when you go to the Rebbe's Ohel, which I had only been at one time previously, but with not a delegation, but with somebody else, with
handlers,
with somebody who I love, but
right.
I wasn't on my own. I had somebody telling me what we do next, what you do next, and this is the first time that I was really there on my own, and I felt like I desperately needed it. Like I was like, I've never felt I've been to Ohel twice in my life.
Okay,
once was a year and a half. And I loved it. I love that I was on my own. There's the mikvah, and then you come in, and then you usually write a note for the Rebbe, which is not something I'm used to or comfortable. Like that's not my default writing, and I'm just not good. But I did it because I had to do it, because I wanted to do it. No, honestly, it didn't require any force. I wasn't. I wasn't looking around. I wasn't
Right.
with anybody. It was beautiful because it was just me and it felt very like sincere and real. And I don't want to share what I wrote, but one sentence that was there, and it was such a real sentiment, is kind of what you said now, was this desire. I want to be a shliach. I want to feel like I am, and I feel like I am, but that sense of feeling mission oriented and mission driven. And I guess in my darker moments, and I feel like a lot of people deal with this, but I deal with it, it comes in very strong, where you feel, you don't feel aligned. You don't feel missionless. You don't feel like you remember who the Mishaleach was. You're on the way, but like you forgot, like, wait, what, do I even have an envelope on me? I don't think I was given an envelope. I don't even know what the shlichus is,
Right.
And that sometimes is hard because I'm trying to I feel it in my bones. I'm on a shlichus.
Yes.
But I don't know what it is. And then you meet with somebody and they're like, oh, you run a podcast. And you're like I want.
So when people say to you,
I want to I want to jump out a window. I want to jump.
That's like when they say to me, oh, you're a therapist. Well, cause that's even worse because I'm not a therapist. You do run a podcast.
Correct.
But when they say to you, you're a therapist. You run a podcast. That's like when they say to me, "Oh, you wrote a book about addiction." It's like, yeah, I did, but that's not who I am. That's not what I want you to know.
Correct.
Okay, and also, by the way, and I know this about you, I only met you one time before in real life. Just
correct.
Like you were
that is
the
true.
oil twice.
That's true.
We only sat together in the same place.
Yes.
Okay, and I remember. It's funny. Maybe I bring this out of you, or maybe you're fetching all the time.
No,
you
told do. You bring something out of me. You do.
Okay, you told me last time.
You do.
I know. One of the things that you hate when people say, "Oh, you're the Twitter guy."
Exactly.
Twitter guy.
Yes.
Come over and tell us some jokes.
Yeah, the Twitter guy.
We're having a kiddish club in the lobby. Come over and tell us some
one-liners. There's nothing I find more diminishing. I find it suffocating. Genuinely.
Yeah. So, you have a podcast. Oh, you're the Twitter guy.
Yeah.
Twitter guy or
you're
Twitter
the addiction
rabbi?
Guy. Twitter guy, I get both.
Guy.
Twitter
Okay.
rabbi,
Twitter rabbi doesn't make it any better.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
I think it makes it worse, honestly.
Okay. Why is it so dehumanizing and demeaning? No, I'm asking.
Oh. And
you realize that people are watching right now and judging both of us and saying, these guys get to make a living doing what they're great at, and
this was a favor, so I feel like I'm allowed to do whatever I want. You're allowed to do whatever
because we're doing a favor for Muslims, so we can say whatever we want. But people are like, this is their complaint? But don't worry about their judgment. I'm here. I'm empathizing. Why is it dehumanizing, demeaning?
It's Why diminishing.
It sucks the air out of
it. It does.
Yeah. Why?
I'm very enamored with, and we WhatsApped about this thinker named Lacan, who was a French thinker and a French philosopher. And he has a moment where he talks about the first time a child sees themselves in the mirror.
Okay.
And he says that there is a trauma in the first time you see yourself in the mirror.
You didn't tell me this. Did you tell me this?
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
What is the trauma? It is the first time that you realize that there is an interior self and a public self, and that people are just interacting with your surface self. And what I think, and he talks about that pain of like the first time that you realize that you're kind of like not one with the universe. It's when your consciousness starts to individuate. It's like I have a 3-year-old son. You know what the only thing he talks about now? Mm-hmm. I'm still a baby. I'm like, babies don't need to. But he keeps on saying, he feels it. He's 3.
Oh, wow.
He feels the individuation and I see it.
Yeah.
And he literally declares, I'm still a baby. Wow. Constantly. I'm still a baby. And I feel like that foundational pain of looking in the mirror and realizing there's the perceived self and there's this interior self. When I confront that perceived self through other people's comments,
even positive comments,
it shifts my focus away from my interior self, and I find those experiences really painful. There was a show that was produced by Tina Fey right after she retired from SNL called 30 Rock. I'm sorry, different show, not 30 Rock. There was a show called The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, also produced by Tina Fey, I believe. And she has this very flamboyant friend named Titus Andromedon. And there's this scene in the show where Titus, who's this like, who wants to be an actor so badly, so desperately, he's finally getting on television for the first time ever, like on live TV. And he's sitting there like powdering up like his face. It's like this big, heavy black man, but like very theatrical. He's a hilarious character, and he's ready. And then like he starts like singing to himself, where he's like, I'm gonna be with eternity. Like I finally have my moment. I'm now living, Mamish, I'm one with the stars. And then all of a sudden his mic is like, Titus, you're on. We've already been filming. And then all of a sudden he's like, what? You're filming? Like he just made a fool out of himself. He's like singing to himself. He's like, stop. And then he realizes the chyron is there that has his name. And he's like trying to like cover the digital chyron. It's hilarious. And then he screams out. This is in a TV show. He screams out, stop. I want to be a baby. That's what he screams out. I want to be a baby. Wow. And that, I appreciate that feeling of like, I want the pain of differentiation and the individuation to be less acute. And there are times where like that feeling of like that mirror stage, I feel like I experience that over and over again in my life, because we are in public and we so often interact with people's perception of us. It can erode or serve as kind of this mask or barrier between me remembering and constantly centering my real, true internal self.
You're describing the pain, the trauma of the Eitz Hadas. This is the trauma of the Eitz Hadas. When you taste from the tree of knowledge, what knowledge do you gain? You become like, can win Trivial Pursuit, like, lots of
Jeopardy.
Right, Jeopardy. The knowledge is self-knowledge, but not in like an edifying sense of like insight. Self-knowledge, like crippling self-consciousness. Shame, which is why the first symptom of self-awareness was shame. Busha.
Sure.
Yeah. And particularly, we could talk about this, but sexual shame. They covered up their nakedness, which they didn't have a concept before because they were like babies. What does it mean they were like? A baby runs around without a diaper on.
Correct.
There's no busha. Right. Because a baby doesn't have a self-concept or a fragmented sense of self, or what you're saying Lacan calls this difference between the inner and outer self. So the Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge, basically is where that construct of the false self emerges, and maybe even not only becomes a distraction, but maybe even becomes a focal point. And then there's that pain of separation from self, the separation from self, which is, an awful thing to be separated from your true self.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And this we were talking about, but I kind of want your approach to it, and it doesn't really align with what we've been talking about before, but you brought it up.
Sure, it's aligned.
Why is it that the prototypical shame that the Torah addresses
is
sexual shame? I also feel shame when I get up at 2:00 in the morning and I eat a loaf of bread that could feed a family of 4. Like they make those like big loaves.
Yeah.
So like I could get like in a carb spiral, and like I just first I just peel off like the crusty layer, and then I'm like, shame to leave the beautiful, delicious white, fluffy insides. And then before I know it, it could mamish be like it's in the middle of the night. I'm doing 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I have just finished a full proper loaf of a loaf that you cut up into distinct sandwiches that can feed a family.
Yeah.
And I've
That's
just finished.
Your thing? That's your taiva?
It's one of my many taivas. It's one of my many taivas. But I've always intrigued by the unique, why sexual expression, sexual shame, embarrassment is always held apart in Jewish law,
why is it a category unto itself?
Correct.
Because it is the quintessential shame, not because it's inherently shameful, but because shame, like we said, is awareness of self, too much awareness of self. And sexuality is synonymous with self. Too much awareness of self is too much awareness of sexuality, and vice versa. Too much awareness of sexuality is too much awareness of self.
Why sexuality is so tied up with self?
Because the true self, I'm talking, when I say self, I mean the true self.
Yes.
Although when it becomes fragmented, then it becomes misappropriated and co-opted by the false self.
Sure.
Okay. The true self is alignment with God. Oneness with God, even.
Sure.
The signature quality of the human being that is godly is the capacity to create.
Correct.
Now, that can be creating a podcast or writing a book, or it can be literally the quintessential act of creation, procreation.
Sure.
And that's where your selfhood is most clearly revealed, your deepest self. And that's why it is subject to the deepest shame. And that's why the injury is the deepest injury. Somebody comes over and insults you. You'll get over it. Somebody comes over, even punches you in the face. Take a little longer, but you'll get over it. Somebody violates your sexuality. Why is that such a deep wound? Why is it such a deep wound? And we know that it is. We see that it is.
Correct.
Because it is the most synonymous with my deepest self. And when that is, I'll say it, not even injured, but even when too much attention is called to it, when somebody becomes aware of their sexuality at a too young of an age, right? For instance, classic example, the awareness of it is the trauma. In other words, it's like, I want to be a baby. I want to not really understand where I end and the world begins.
Correct.
I don't want to have this much awareness that it is killing me. This degree of self-consciousness is killing me. And so when someone comes over and says, you've got a podcast, what they're doing is they're highlighting an aspect of your external self.
Exactly.
Which is not a shameful thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But it's highlighting that awareness that you have of that outer self. And there's a pain of being forced. It's like someone making you look in the mirror. I don't want to look in the mirror.
Correct.
I mean, I'll check my hair just to make sure I don't look crazy. But
I used to have a lot of trouble looking in the mirror because when my hair started going white, it gets a little thinner. I just I didn't want to look at that. I don't want to be reminded of what other people are experiencing.
By the way, I love your white hair. It's one of your signatures.
I know, but it started too young. Now it's great. I fully owned it. It's great. When do you think I got my first white hair?
In your 20s?
16.
Oh my gosh.
That's a little too young.
No, it's good. The premature gray is a good look. You don't look old. No one thinks you're old.
No
one thinks you're old.
I've caught up with it. I've shared some. I used to dye my hair. I mean, I had two in yeshiva. Oh my gosh. Don't make me
struggled with it. That's shame.
Oh, big time. That was real.
We're ashamed of it.
Do you know how to...
No, I was never prematurely gray. Thank God I never had such a...
Have you ever lived in a yeshiva dorm?
Yeah.
To dye your hair, you have to put on gloves.
Oh, there's a lot of
dye. You can't do that in the middle of a dormitory.
You lock yourself in a toilet stall?
I would set it on 2:30 in the morning. I'd do it in the middle of the night, for sure. The same way that when you miss Shacharis, and I wouldn't want to be putting on tefillin at 9:15, and people
you should have learned in Lubavitch.
No, you know what I would do? I would go to the bathroom in the middle of morning seder around 11.
Yeah.
I walk out very calmly and quietly, and then the moment I was not in, run back to the dorms,
right?
Slap on the Rashis, quick, because I just don't want anybody to see. I don't want to be associated with it, even though I was pretty much missing Shacharis fairly. Cal Ripken Jr. of missing Shacharis, it was a fairly consistent practice of mine. But I wanted to rap, so I would run to my dorms and do that privately at 11, and I would dye my hair once every. Yeah, 2:30 in the morning in the Ner Yisrael dorms.
So how is it now? Can you look in the mirror now? A little bit
Yes,
more.
I've learned how to do it much better. It was very genuinely very difficult for a long time. I want to ask one question about, and this is almost what we were originally going to talk about, which is because we were talking about sexuality and self.
Yeah.
So one of the theories that Lacan talks quite a bit about, I want you to weigh in on, is what is the nature of desire? Mm-hmm. What are we doing when we covet? When we want something very badly, and specifically with sexual desire, it's very interesting that there's something that it arouses you to such a degree that you feel like I need to do something with this. Right. What are we trying? So Lacan has this theory, which I love, which he says the name of a book. All desire is a desire for being. Okay. Whenever we want something, what we want is not necessarily the experience, but what the experience represents. It's why we advertise luxury cars a certain way. We're trying to sell being. We're not actually trying to sell cars. We're not
the car. It's the identity that I will have.
Correct.
When I have that car.
Correct. Yeah. But there's no other desire that I have where, like, you're walking the subway and you see somebody eating a nice sandwich. Right. It doesn't arouse me in the same way as being sexually aroused. Hunger does not arouse. I fasted. Yeah, you want to drink at the end of the fast. It's not arousal in the same way that sexual arousal like shifts your whole sense of being into that direction. Right. And what my original question was, which I was going to start, but now it looks like we're going to end on this note, is how do you address and almost change desire itself? Meaning, how do you learn to want things that are healthier and better for you?
It's an interesting thesis.
Like, I wish I was not... I'm a shtickle baltaiva. I am. That's the real truth. I wish
you eat whole loaves of bread in the middle of the night.
Full loaves. Yeah. And they're not. It's not whole wheat, right? It's white.
White bread.
Proper processed
Smushy,
carbs.
Yeah.
But what I saw is like, how do you get to that root of like to get the desire and fix it fix it in a way that it is more constructive. We all have ambitions. But they can be so strong and so powerful. It's not quite the same question as healing addiction. I'm sure it's related in some ways. But how do we figure out how to desire the right things?
Yeah, there's a lot here. I mean, you're trying to like wrap up, but you're opening up a whole new vista.
I am. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm okay with it. But this is a lot.
I genuinely love sitting with you.
Okay, I do too.
I really, really
sitting
do.
with you, not sitting with myself. Although I'm okay with that. I mostly sit by myself. I mostly am misboided. So let's take one on ramp and see where it takes us. Why do people do stupid, crazy things and mess up their lives because of sexual desire more than other things? Arguably, I would say that's the main thing.
Yes.
Right? The proverbial crime of passion, right?
People throw away careers, jobs,
right?
Politics, families, empires, families.
Right.
Yes.
And their self-respect. Or their morality, or their like, why is it like the thing that can get people to be so careless and stupid, and like, why is that the downfall, the bane of? Yeah. So, like I was saying before, the first symptom of self-awareness after the tree of knowledge was awareness of sexual shame, and they made clothing to cover it. And God said, why did you do that? Because I didn't want to be naked. Who told you were naked? What does it mean, who told you were naked? Adam wasn't a fool. He knew he was naked. It just didn't have any meaning. Being naked didn't mean anything. It wasn't scandalous to be naked.
Correct.
Like when we were kids, we used to, Drei Cup would say, oh, your epidermis is showing.
Yeah, we
right,
had that. Yeah, sure.
Right. So your epidermis, of course, your epidermis is showing. Right. Okay. And before the Eitz Hadas, before the tree of knowledge, having your reproductive organs exposed was like having your epidermis showing. It didn't mean anything.
Correct.
Again, like a baby.
Correct.
Like a baby. Okay. When we became self-aware, when the self became fragmented into what you say is Lacan's terminology of the inner and outer self. I'm not sure if that's the terminology he uses, but something akin to that. So here's the thing. The desire, the deepest desire of the innermost self is for union. I mean, there's a reason why King Solomon wrote Song of Songs as a love poem, and it wasn't to sell more copies. The Gemara says Shlomo Melech had 3,000 neshalim, 3,000 metaphors for every concept. For any concept, he could do 3,000 metaphors. So he certainly didn't have a lack of
imagery to call upon.
Right. And the fact that he chose
he chose romantic sexual imagery to describe our spiritual relationship.
Right. Correct. So there's a reason for that. And there's a reason the Kabbalists equate, I mean, all of the imagery of world building, of God's being a creator is all reproductive imagery. Male, female, yichud. So there's a reason for that, because the ultimate pain is the fragmentation. The ultimate pleasure is union or reunion, where one loses one's fragmented self and has the bliss, the peace.
The ultimate pleasure, I just love it, is union and reunion.
Yeah.
To feel that wholeness.
To feel the wholeness, right, exactly. All right. Now, when that is misappropriated, obviously it becomes, it takes us very far from God. Makes us do things not even far from God, things that are just far from common sense. But the original power of it is because not only is it the most basic desire, but it's actually the only thing that we're here to do. Like you said, I'm on a shlichus and I forgot what my shlichus is. I have this nagging sense I'm sent here on a mission, and I loved your imagery. I'm on a mission and I'm like, where's my envelope?
Put it somewhere.
Okay, so then what's the mission? I cannot tell you specifically what your mission is. I have some theories about your mission based on things that I know about you and your skills and your resources and opportunities. So maybe I'll tell you later about
offline. Sure.
Offline. But in general, I know your mission because I know everyone's mission. Your mission is to make a home for God. Home for God, we call it dir b'tachteinim, but a home really means a home in the sense of like you get married and you have a home. Okay, so your job is to get married. Get married to who? To God, and you're going to move in together. You're going to make a home together. Now we're all doing this as well. It's not just you.
Sure.
It's not just David. I mean, it's also me. It's everyone else. So your deepest desire is to experience that reunion with your true self, which is reunion with God, which is that feeling of wholeness, that I can finally forget about the fragmented me. I can finally stop feeling separate. I can stop being self-aware. I can lose myself in the oneness. And your job, it's counterintuitive, but in heaven, the soul was much closer to God. In the embodiment, the soul is, so to speak, farther. I mean, we're not talking spatially, obviously, farther from God. But by becoming far, it's like when Adam and Eve were separated, they were one, and then they were separated, and he says, now cleave together and become one flesh. Drei Cup. You had one, you broke it up and said, just leave it the way it was. No. Because the point is reunion, not unity, reunion. So to be divorced from wholeness and then to come back to it, we also call this teshuvah. You don't have to sin to do teshuvah. And you can do teshuvah from the embodiment trauma. Teshuvah doesn't mean you did anything wrong. People are like, why should I do teshuvah? I didn't sin. Who said you sinned? Teshuvah means returning to your innate oneness with God. If you were embodied, you were sent away from God. The purpose is that through your embodiment to come back closer to God than you were before. In other words, I don't want to speak dirty here, but when the Adam was male and female in one being, one organism, one body, there were certain things that he could not do.
Correct.
Right?
Sexually.
Right. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. We're on the same page.
Right. Okay. By the way, just parentheses. In honor of my father's upcoming yahrzeit, I have to tell one of my father's jokes. I told you my father was a psychologist. So my father said there was once a little boy who they were very concerned about him because he was making inappropriate comments of a mature nature. So they sent him to the school psychologist, and he gave him the Rorschach test. The ink blots, these abstract forms, and you have to say what it looks like. All right. So they showed him the first ink blot, and he looks at it and he says, well, that's, it's an image of like, I'm trying to censor myself to be more adult here, but he said it's yeah. So then he showed him another ink blot, and he said, what's that? Oh, yeah, that's even hotter than the first one. Okay. And he shows him another ink blot. Whoa, look what that is. And the psychologist says to the kid, he says, little boy, you seem very preoccupied with sex. Kid says, me? You're the one who brought in all the dirty pictures.
That's great. That's great.
My father used to tell that joke. By the way, I have a whole video on YouTube of stories and jokes that my father told me, and I didn't tell that one because I didn't have the guts to tell it, but
here we are.
Here we are. He used to tell that about projection. People who go around, complaining.
You brought the dirty pictures. This is your fault.
Exactly. Okay, but at any rate, the shlichus is to feel fragmented from God, from our true self, to have the trauma of becoming hyper aware of that fragmented self, to feel pain from that, and then to do teshuvah, to come back to oneness, the release, the bliss of just self-transcendence. I'm no longer stuck in myself. I'm, you said Lacan uses the term being. I don't know what he means by it, but like to me, being is the ultimate being. He who just is.
Correct.
God is ultimate being. And when we transcend our doing and we become one with God through surrender, what we call bittul, doing our shlichus, there's that wonderful, pleasurable experience of just being. Just being. It's the most profoundly satisfying thing. But if you don't know about that, or you don't know how to do it, then you end up running after the fake version of it, the imitation version of it, which is, the hagshama of it, the lower level, coarsened version of that very actually spiritual desire.
I really can't thank you enough that we got this opportunity to talk.
Yeah, for sure.
Anytime I speak to you, I feel so. I feel very. It's a strange term, and it's used in
what is it?
Feeling seen. What is the experience of feeling seen? It's the way we talk about when we used to go up to the Beis Hamikdash. That feeling seen, feeling that in your entirety, which is something I don't say lightly and I take quite seriously. And also your entire idea, which I love, about the reunity as being the goal.
Right.
Not just unity is not the goal. Reunity is the goal.
Right.
Which I always found beautiful just in the Jewish holidays, that we have so many holidays that celebrate the return of the divine presence to the temple, and we never celebrate the actual construction of the temple.
Is that your Chiddush?
I just
as
know.
As far as you know.
There's more time in the entire 5 books of the Torah spent on the one day of the calendar, which is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which is when God's presence finally rested on the temple, than any. I mean, it's multiple parshios. It's a really important day, and yet we don't really celebrate it in a formal way. It's not any of it's not Pesach, it's not Shavuos, it's not Sukkot, it's not Hanukkah. It's kind of this idea that I find very moving is that the celebration isn't about dedication. The celebration is for rededication.
Right. And the ultimate celebration is Mashiach. What's Mashiach? Mashiach is reunion. But what you should understand is when Mashiach will come, it will not just rectify the collective trauma that we experienced from the tree of knowledge. Because if that were so, that it just rectified it, then it would be a zero-sum game. Basically, we started off here, we had a terrible time, but then we came back, we broke even. Broke even. You leave the casino, at least I broke even. No. The whole thing was to come to a higher level. So just like embodiment, you go far away from God and experience the pain of self-consciousness in order to be able to do your shlichus, do your mission in the world, and then become one with God through doing that mission, and thereby becoming higher than you were from your point of departure before your embodiment. It's the same thing with Golus and Geula, that we have to go through this whole dysfunctional...
Collectively,
like all of history since basically day 6 of creation has been dysfunctional. But we come out of it on an infinitely, incomparably closer plane than before. I mean, I'm opening up a whole new discussion, but
this is the Mashiach that I wait for.
Adam was one with God before the sin. And what did the sin cause? Fragmentation, that he felt separate from God. So then, if Mashiach comes and we're one with God again, so what was gained? The whole thing was, like I said, you broke even. It would have been better not to do it in the first place. But what he gained was separation, and then to be able to, obviously I wouldn't even call this the parallel to sexuality as a parent. It's not even a parallel. It's literally the same concept. The becoming a separate entity so that there can be two who are really one becoming one. That's what we gained. That because of the tree of knowledge, we gained that sense of separation. When Mashiach comes and we reunite with God, that will not just be going back to the baby-like innocence. In fact, we spoke about this when I was at your house. We spoke about
tshuva of experience and tshuva of innocence.
That's right, and it's a recurring theme. It's the same thing.
Think about all
tshuva
the time.
of experience and tshuva of innocence. So before the sin was the innocence. That's you're one with God, but you don't even know what that means.
Yes.
Then you lose it, and it's a crisis. And you're self-aware, and people are calling you the Twitter guy, or you have a podcast, and I can't look in a mirror because I'm hyper-aware. And then you realize all of those things are part of my toolkit for getting closer to God and ultimately becoming closer than when I was a baby.
Reunity, rededication.
Yeah.
Rabbi Shais,
we have a lot to talk about after the cameras are off.
There's no question about that.
We're going to come up with a plan here.
I am so grateful that we got to spend time
today. We got to do it all the time.
This was an incredibly special day.
We should do it regularly.
And I needed this day.
That's all about this. So but I want to put it out there. I think the Olam should demand that you and I should do, in addition, I'm not going to stop Soul Words. You're not going to stop 1840, but we should do regular collaborations.
More consistent. It would be the greatest privilege in my life.
Okay, we're going to talk about it after the cameras are off.
Thank you.
Can we do...
Let's just both look into the camera and be Yotzei our shlichus for this video. Looking at the camera and say at the count of 3.
You started off talking about you loathed being performative. So
just look at the camera. This is not performative. And say,
vote early, vote often.
Vote early, vote often. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Okay.